Well, hello friends and welcome to Sinnoh. Today I want to attempt a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum using only shiny Pokemon. The number one viewed video on the channel right now is the shiny only run of Pokemon Heart Gold with over 20,000 views. The people have spoken, they want to see shinies. You take the grind of a shiny hunt with a hardcore Nuzlocke and mash that together, it makes for a video that everybody wants to see. People on the internet love watching other people on the internet struggle. Now, just like in our Johto run where we used only Johto Pokemon, I want to use only Sinnoh Pokemon in this run. And it would surprise you of how many native Sinnoh Pokemon are not available in Platinum, such as Stunky and Glameow. Another thing that we have to contend with is baby Pokemon and final evolutions of other Pokemon like Miss Magius and Honchkrow, where their unevolved forms are not found in Platinum. The odds of finding a shiny are 1 in 8,192. Now, if we do 8,192 battles, we are not guaranteed to find a shiny because that's not how averages work. It is a 1 in 8,192 chance every single battle. So those aren't great odds, but there are a few things that we could do to boost shiny odds. First and foremost is the Masuda method of breeding Pokemon, a very famous method that a lot of people know about. You need a parent Pokemon and then a regional Ditto. Of course, getting a regional Ditto in a game that is this old is going to be near impossible, so that is not a method that we are really going to use. The other two methods that I know about are native to Generation 4. The first one is the Poke Radar, where we can chain encounters to boost the shiny chance. That, of course, isn't available until post-game, so we're not going to use that method either. The third and final method is the Cute Charm glitch. As the name suggests, if you have the right trainer ID and the secret ID, and a Pokemon in the lead of your party with the Cute Charm ability, you have a 1 in 5 chance of finding a shiny. The caveat is, if you have a male Clefairy, let's say, you're going to get predominantly female shiny Pokemon. That's not a downfall, it's just how people can know that you're using that glitch. We're not going to use that either because I really don't know how to set it up. I'd rather go full odds and make this as difficult as possible. The first shiny hunt begins with the Sinnoh starters. All three of them are great Pokemon in their own right. However, Turtwig does fall a little bit short here in Sinnoh, where it gets outclassed by both Chimchar and Piplup, both of which are great Pokemon. Infernape dominates kind of the latter part of the game, but Piplup should never be counted out because Empoleon has 9 resistances and 1 immunity, so that is the Pokemon I'm going to go for. Maybe should have gone for Chimchar, but hey, I love the blue penguin. Now, I didn't show this, but we did save before we opened up the briefcase to choose our shiny. We have to do that for the soft reset. Now, we can mash through this pretty easily, and if we hit all the buttons correctly, we can choose the penguin, roll through the dialogue here, and then get into the battle with our rival, and hopefully see those sparkles soon. This takes about 5 to 7 seconds, which isn't bad, but this is going to take a little bit of time. As I said before, a 1 in 8,192 chance, so we're not going to find it in the first couple of rolls. And as a matter of fact, it took almost 29 hours and 6,800 rolls before we found the shiny light blue penguin. Let's frickin' go. Sitting in front of a computer with speed up, watching the dialogue over and over, eventually your eyes cross and you slowly start to contemplate what you did to make the decision to put yourself in this position where you're trying to get a shiny that takes over 29 hours. I mean, we did get the shiny blue penguin, but was it worth it? The things that I'll do for views, clicks, and comments is absolutely amazing, but nonetheless, let's meet Alcyone, the Piplup here, with a lax plus defense minus special defense nature. This is a great Pokemon. I am ready to get this run started. With doing a full odds shiny hunt, there are a few things that we can do to kind of optimize our run. A lot of work went into this video, but more so the research that I did on every single route to figure out which routes had the best potential chance for a Generation 4 Pokemon took a very long time, almost as much as some of these hunts took. On Route 202 here, we can find 4 Pokemon, all of which are Gen 4 natives: Starly, Shinx, Bidoof, and Kricketot. I'll take any of those Pokemon. Well, let's be honest, if I get a shiny Kricketot, we're rolling back to Lake Verity and see if we can't get a Bidoof or a Starly. I would prefer a Starly or a Shinx because of the Intimidate ability, but again, we're just going to do some shiny hunting here. If we wait to do a hunt until, let's say, Route 206, there are 2 viable encounters on that route, rather, a Cricketune or a Gligar, which can evolve into Gliscor. But there are 4 other Pokemon that are more common that we would find: a Geodude, Ponyta, Machop, and at night, Zubat. So the chances of us actually finding a Gen 4 viable encounter is going to be a lot less than here on Route 202. So we need to optimize these different shinies, and I've come up with some pretty good areas to do my shiny hunts, like here on Route 202. There, of course, are going to be a couple of locations that I do hunt in that don't have this optimization. It is what it is. There are certain Pokemon that, of course, I want to play with as well, so we can't be perfect in every aspect. We're just going to sit down and we're going to do the grind. I did forget to mention in the first couple of clips that this video has been ongoing since the end of the Heart Gold Shiny Only run. We're doing this one in the background because I can't sit down in a weekend and shiny hunt 7, 8 Pokemon, whatever it is I decided here. So if you guys would, please leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing. There was a lot of work that went into this, and of course, you may also notice that there's some audio changes. I updated OBS, and everything reset itself, so I spent a lot of time. As a matter of fact, I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, and it is almost 5:30 at night, messing with my computer off and on to try to get these settings right. I'm kind of begging here, guys. I'm on my knees begging. Please leave a comment. We put a lot of work into this run, and I'm kind of losing my mind. I do apologize. 10,100 encounters over 14 hours, because we could roll these encounters at about every 2-3 seconds. Shiny Bidoof. Shiny Bidoof. I mean, I'm just burned out. I love this Pokemon, let's be honest. This is a great HM Mon, and Bidoof is nothing to scoff at, so it's going to be a great addition to the team. Of course, we need to catch it. Luckily, we did grab some Pokeballs, and we were smart enough to do that. And, yes! The Lord Bidoof is ours. And let's meet Atlas, the shiny Bidoof. It has a hasty plus speed minus defense nature. There is a name theme to this run. It's a little obscure. Can you guys guess it? Put your guesses in the comment section below. And just like in every single run before this, we've of course nicknamed our rival Algorithm, because we were trying to beat the Algorithm both in-game and in real life. Now, the in-game Algorithm is going to be relatively easy, considering this is a non-monotype challenge, and I've got some pretty good Pokemon that I hope to get. Regardless, we're going to have a good team, and we should be able to counter them pretty well. The real-life Algorithm, however, is much more difficult to defeat. Even with a good team and a plan, I'm still getting my butt kicked by real life. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about the YouTube algorithm. It is also kicking my butt, but you guys are helping me each and every week defeating it. Liking the video, commenting, subscribing, any and all interactions with the channel help out a ton and helps me defeat the algorithm. Thank you guys again for the continued support. I know a couple clips ago we were kind of begging. Hey, we put a lot of work into this episode, so I figured I'd ask for a favor. You guys are great. You leaving all the comments, the likes, so on and so forth. Thank you guys so much. Let's continue on. Now, Rourke, the Rock-type gym leader, should be relatively easy considering we have Alcyone on the team. A bubble that is stabbed should be able to take out the Geodude and the Onix respectively, but that Cranidos is very scary. And we don't one-shot the Onix. That's okay, Rourke burns the potion and we take it out. Cranidos has one of the highest base attacks in Generation 4. It's very scary with a base 70 power headbutt. It's not stab, but it still does a ton of damage. Bubble doesn't quite do half, headbutt takes us to 10, and we get a high roll taking out the Cranidos, so we go unpunished. We also get a nice little evolution with Alcyone evolving into a Primplup. If we lose a Pokemon in this run, having to re-roll shinies and start over is going to be detrimental. So we need to be a little more careful moving forward. Another great evolution as Atlas evolves into a Bibarel, gaining the water type. This goofy Pokemon is honestly a god. Now, the Valley Windworks is the next location I want to shiny hunt in. There are 4 Pokemon that can be found here: Shinx, Weasel, Shellos, and Pachirisu, all of which are viable encounters. I'm hoping for a Shinx. Really, that would be the Pokemon that I really want, but I'll take any of these Pokemon to be perfectly honest. One thing that I am not going to do is shiny hunt in honey trees. I'm sure somebody's going to ask. I'm glutton for punishment, but not that much. That would just be ridiculous. Well, this hunt didn't take that long. 5 hours later and just over 3,500 encounters, we find a shiny Pachirisu. Yes, I will take it. And let's meet Asterope, the Pachirisu. It has an adamant plus attack minus special attack nature. Are you freaking kidding me? That is absolutely amazing. The battle with Mars in the Valley Windworks is typically difficult in these Nuzlocks. I've got a pretty decent team, so I'm confident going into this battle as she leads a Zubat and I lead Asterope. A stab super effective spark one-shots the Zubat, and I have a plan for the Purugly. We stay in to take the fake out, then we get hit with a scratch before firing off a charm. Now the master plan unfolds, swapping into Atlas, who gets hit with a scratch on the swap in. We then get outsped and hit with a feint attack before stealing this thing's berry with Pluck. We then get hit with a feint attack and fire off a nasty headbutt, and then we get crit with a scratch down to 7 HP before taking out the Purugly. Again, losing a Pokemon here is devastating, so that was very lucky. Now once we get to Eterna City, we can get our hands on the Explorer Kit. And typically in my Nuzlocks, I go to the underground and I start doing some grinding. Because in here we can find things like the plates, the different damp and heat rocks. We can find different stones. There's all kinds of items that can be found down here depending on how much grind you actually want to put forth. I, however, am also looking for one specific item whilst we're down here. That is the Skull Fossil, which can be found because our trainer ID is odd before the National Dex. I made sure of that before I even started this run. If we had an even trainer ID, we would have reset. Now, more specifically, I don't want just one fossil. I want 5. This is going to set us up for a shiny hunt in a little while that is going to be neat and kind of peculiar, so I want to set it up and show you guys, go through it a little bit, because I think it's neat, and of course the Pokemon we're going to get is very neat, and his shiny is super cool if we can find it. Now, 2 of my Pokemon are weak to Grass-type moves, and the other one resists Grass-type moves and is resisted against Gardenia's Grass types. So the key to winning this battle is Pluck and Atlas. We actually one-shot the Turtwig and then Cherrim comes out. We don't one-shot it and we get hit with a nasty Grass Knot, but we outspeed so we take out the Cherrim. We are going to outspeed the Roserade because of Speed EV investments, and we one-shot, so never mind. We were going to steal its Citrus Berry, yada yada yada, but we one-shot. Perfect. The battle with Commander Jupiter goes very similar to the way we battled Mars. We lead Asterope and fire off a Spark that one-shots her Zubat. Her Skuntank comes out, we fire off a Charm, this time not getting hit with a Fake Out, tank a Night Slash, and then swap into Atlas. Atlas takes a little bit more damage than I thought it should, but we outspeed and can steal its Citrus Berry with a Pluck. We were never dead to a crit there, so we were perfectly safe. Now we swap in Asterope, who tanks a Night Slash, and then fires off a Spark. Looks like we can take it out with one more. I was debating switching, but I decided to go for another Spark, taking out the Skuntank. The next shiny hunt I want to do is in the Wayward Cave. There are some Pokemon in here like Zubat and Geodude that are not viable encounters, but I'm really hoping we can get our hands on a Gibble. A Bronzor would be perfectly fine as well, but I prefer the shiny Gibble. We'll see what we get. Just over 4,500 encounters later, we find ourselves a shiny Zubat. Not a viable encounter, but I told you this would happen. Past me. Yeah, he was right. Another 8,200 encounters, just under 12 hours later, we find a shiny Bronzor. I was hoping for the shiny Gibble, but I will take this. 12,000 encounters in the Wayward Cave before we finally found this damn thing. And let's meet Seleno, the Bronzor. It has a hasty plus speed and minus defense nature with the levitate ability. This is a great Pokemon. We've used it before. I know it's great. Welcome to the team. We're rocking some pretty cool Pokemon. Seleno and Asterope are rocking the old school green and pink shiny. Atlas is that golden god, and Alcyone has got that nice light blue color that everybody's after. Of course, we're going to deposit these Pokemon because I think we need to add a little bit of flair to the team. Our next shiny hunt is going to be a little bit of a setup where we want only one Pokemon in our team. It's peculiar, and I want to go through the steps and show you guys and hopefully get our hands on a cool-ass shiny. Deposit all of our Pokemon. We did spend a ton of time in the underground collecting the skull fossils, as we mentioned a few clips ago. We got 5 of them. We're ready to go. We've got a ton of other items which are going to come and play later on. Next thing we need to do is head to the Orberg City Museum where they revive fossils. Before talking to the guy, we need to, of course, save. After we've saved, we can then talk to him, give him a fossil, run outside, collect our Pokemon. We're not going to nickname it because that takes too much time. We'll take care of that if and when we find a shiny. And then we will rinse and repeat, running outside, collecting another Cranidos, giving him a fossil, running outside. We'll collect another Cranidos. After we get all 5 of these Pokemon revived, we will then go through them and check to see if any of them are shiny, which of course none of these are. Now we can soft reset and do this all over again. This one took a very, very, very long time. 8,600 rolls divided by 5, divided by 3.5 minutes, I think it was per. It took over 40 hours to find this Pokemon, but there is the shiny Cranidos with that red color. Absolutely awesome. Was this shiny hunt worth it? Probably not. Did we do it? Yeah. Are we smart? No. Not even close. We then make our way back to Eterna City so we can nickname this thing, and everybody meet Merope, the shiny Cranidos with a quirky neutral nature. This is a great addition to the team. It's going to round out our color palette perfectly. Merope is also going to be the lead against Fantina because it learns Assurance via level up. The lead Duskull does have Will-O-Wisp, but we outspeed and can fire off an Assurance that one-shots. Mismagius has Magical Leaf, so I don't want to stay in, so I decide to swap into Seleno, who will resist it very nicely, but gets tagged with the Confuse Ray instead. We swap into Asterope on a Shadow Ball that does a decent amount of damage, and then fire off a critical hit Spark to one-shot the Mismagius. That was beautiful. Beautiful. As the Haunter comes out, this is a primarily physical Haunter, so I decide to bring Merope back in. Shadow Claw does pitiful damage, another Shadow Claw does even more pitiful damage, and then we one-shot. Leaving Hardhome, we have a battle with Algo. He leads with a Staravia that has Intimidate, and I lead Merope. Merope was just up front from the last battle. We swap into Asterope on a double team, then we get out prioritized with a quick attack for some chip, and one-shot it with Spark. This should bait out the Grottle next, but surprisingly, Buizel comes out. Makes no sense, but we one-shot it with Spark. Grottle comes out next, and now we're going to swap into Atlas on a withdrawal. Perfect. We then fire off a Pluck, doing over half, and Razor Leaf, if it had crit, would have one-shot, so that was an unnecessary risk as we take out the Grottle with another Pluck. Ponyta comes out. We're sitting a little too low, so I swap into Alcyone on a Tackle. Ponyta outspeeds and goes for a Tail Whip, and then we knock it out with a critical hit Bubble Beam. Now we're in Veilstone, and there's a whole new grind that we can commit to. Getting the coin case and getting our hands on some different TMs like Ice Beam and Psychic would be great for the team. Surprisingly, I forgot to mention this, but Alcyone has a 0 IV in speed. That's why that thing is getting outsped left, right, and center. It is not a fast Pokemon in the slightest. Before heading to Maylene, we have an evolution on the team with Merope evolving into a beastly Cranidos. Next up for the gym challenge is Maylene and her fighting types. Atlas is weak to fighting types because of our normal typing, but I lead him against Metatite nonetheless. We get hit with a Fake Out, which is annoying, but a Pluck one-shots. As the Machoke comes out, I know this thing likes to go for Rock Tomb. We don't quite one-shot, get hit with the Rock Tomb, but we still outspeed and knock it out with another Pluck. Lucario is last out. Atlas cannot stay out, so I swap into Seleno, who gets hit with a Drain Punch on the swap-in. I decide to go for Confuse Ray despite having Psychic. We get hit with a Force Palm down to 18 HP before firing off that Confuse Ray and swapping into Asterope. Asterope gets hit with a Drain Punch and then fires off a critical hit Thunder Punch to knock out the Lucario. What a Pokemon. On our way to Wake, we have a couple of evolutions, starting with Alcyone evolving into a beastly Empoleon. Next is Seleno evolving into a beastly Bronzong, and this team is starting to shape up into the Steel-type team I used in Sinnoh quite a few runs back. It was a great team nonetheless. Just before taking on the gym, Algo wants to challenge us to a battle. Now his team is going to be relatively easy. We soak up the Intimidate from Staravia with Atlas, And then, of course, we swap into Asterope, who has been a phenomenal Pokemon. I still can't say phenomenal correctly. A stab super effective Thunder Punch takes it out. I decide to stay in and go for Thunder Punch against the Ponyta, doing a bunch of damage. Stomp does a little bit of chip before we take it out with another Thunder Punch. Grottle then comes out, so we U-turn out. That is a great move that this Pokemon can learn, and we commit it to the grind. We bring in Alcyone on a withdrawal, and then we can take it out with an Ice Beam. Again, we committed to the coin grind. Buizel comes out, and I decide not to stay in, and we swap back into Asterope, who again has become a staple on the team, tanking 2 Aqua Jets and one-shotting with a Thunder Punch. Against Wake and his water types, I've got a pretty good plan, and my team is stacked. We, of course, lead with Atlas to soak up the Intimidate from Gyarados, and then we swap into Asterope, which is becoming quite the thing on the team. This Pokemon surprised me, and this is why I love Nuzlocke. This is a great Pokemon, and I would have never used it otherwise. As the Quagsire comes out, we U-turn out and bring in Alcyone. Mudshot misses, and we fire off a quad super effective Grass Knot, taking it out. This leaves his Floatzel that has nothing he can do against Alcyone, firing off a very weak Crunch before we take it to low red health with Grass Knot. One more Crunch, Grass Knot takes it out, and we win the 5th gym badge. For me, this marks the official start of the mid-game. We meet Cynthia for the second time, where she's trying to get us to go to Celestic Town to go on a date with her grandma. I was not looking for a shiny on Route 215. I wanted an HM Pokemon that would use Fly and Defog. We need Defog to get to Celestic Town, and we need Fly once we're done in Celestic Town to get us to Jubilife so we can go to Canalave City. And of course, I wasn't looking for a shiny, and we find one. This is because we have Lord Doof on our team, and Arceus is smiling upon us. Now, we're going to put this thing on the team, of course, because it has Intimidate, and it is a shiny, so it's a viable encounter. I wanted one of these back on Route 202. And let's meet Maya the Staravia. This thing has Intimidate, which is great. A Lax plus defense minus special defense nature is perfectly fine. Welcome to the team. And another grind session later, we gain this thing enough levels so it evolves into a beastly Staraptor. I love this shiny. The brown color is great, and that little blue on the head there, very nice. In our travels, we've met Cyrus before, but now we have to battle him for the first time. Leading Asterope against his team, we fire off a Thunder Punch, doing a decent amount of damage. Screech is perfectly fine because we can knock out the Sneasel. His Golbat and his Murkrow are going to go down to a Thunder Punch apiece. This was really easy, but it is going to get much more difficult very soon. Crossing the bridge in Canalave, Algo wants another battle. I'm not really scared of his team. We are leading Asterope despite what the graphic says against the Staraptor. We're going to be able to two-shot this thing with Thunder Punch. It just goes for double team, and then we break through because this Pokemon is amazing. Rapidash then comes out. I decide to hard switch into Alcyone on a takedown that does chip. We then get tagged with a Tail Whip before taking out the Rapidash with a super effective Surf. Heracross is out next, so it's a swap into Maya. Maya is part normal type. The Intimidate's going to help us take less damage from the Brick Break, and then a stab super effective Aerial Ace is going to take out the Heracross. Torterra is the next Pokemon that is going to come out. It's a little bit scary, and I opt to go for Fly. Fly leaves it on a sliver of health before we get hit with a nasty little bite, and then take it out with an Aerial Ace. His last Pokemon is Floatzel. We're going to U-turn out and bring in the star of the show, Asterope. We're going to get tagged with a Swift, and then of course hit with a priority Aqua Jet before taking this thing out with a Thunder Punch. The next shiny hunt requires a little bit of setup. We grabbed a Magmar from the Fuego Ironworks that has a flame body. We gave Dig to Merope. The first time through the Iron Islands, we did have a full team of 6 so that Riley would not give us the Riolu egg. We made our way back through, saved in front, and now we are going to roll this shiny. To do this, you have to save in front of Riley. We have Dig so that we can easily get out of the cave, and then the best way to hatch this Pokemon is to fly over to Solaceon Town. This has the straightest path that we can go up and down nicely. This is going to take a little bit of time. Flame Body is going to help us hatch this Pokemon faster, so that's why I've allowed it on the team for now. As soon as we hatch a shiny, which I hope is soon, we're going to delete it off the team. The other thing that we need to do is fix when that Repel wears off, so we're just going to run around in front of Riley until it wears off. This way we're optimizing this hunt. Now we're a couple of eggs in. We have optimized our Repel so that we're not running that out as we start shiny hunting, and of course this one's not shiny. If it was the first couple of ones, our luck would be too good. We ran out of luck when we got the shiny Staravia. But we can soft reset, get the Riolu egg, and then start this hunt all over again. It takes about 3.5 minutes to hatch each egg, which means we're going to see about 17 Riolus an hour. That's not great. This is going to take a long time. I knew it would. This is probably going to be the last shiny hunt that we do this run. 192 hours later, approximately 8 days and 3,250 encounters, we get the piss-colored Riolu. This is still a great Pokemon. I am so happy to add this thing to the team. That is going to give us 3 Steel types. It's starting to feel like a Steel type only run. This one took a long time. Now let's everyone meet Tajeta, the shiny Riolu with a calm plus special defense and minus attack nature. Now the biggest question to ask is, who are we going to box? Maya has been a great Pokemon, and the Intimidate ability is valuable more than anything else. Atlas is an absolute god, so we can't box him. Alcyone, of course, is our starter, not going in the box. Solano has been a great Pokemon in the back, and Asterope has been phenomenal. I don't even know how to describe that Pokemon. It is insane. Merope is kind of the only one that hasn't done much since Fantina, and really, other than digging us out of Iron Islands for the last few months of rolling shinies, hasn't done much, and I think we're going to box this Pokemon. Now, as we get to this part in the run, this is where I picked up the run last weekend and started it. All of the shiny hunting was done the last few months, as I said, off and on for about 7 months, and then we picked up this run and finished it off in a weekend. That's insane how these runs go. Now, we do have the Soothe Bell, which we got from Cheryl in the Eterna Forest a long time ago. We're going to equip that to Tajeta, and we're just going to run back and forth on our bike to up its friendship. Luckily, this is not going to take near as long as hatching all of these eggs. And just a little while later, we can evolve Tajeta into a beastly Lucario, and it is, of course, going on the team. This is the team that is going to make it to the end, I hope. Now, up next is Byron and his Steel types. In my Steel type only run, we use Tajeta and Aurasphere and Choice Specs and one-shotted all of these Pokemon. Alcyone has the Choice Specs and Stab Surf that is going to one-shot all of his Pokemon the exact same way. Steelix is very weak specially, and Bastiodon is part Rock type, so that was very easy. We're getting into the late game at this point, and there is a ton of galactic stuff that we have to do at the lakes before we can make our way to Snowpoint City to take on Candace. This is where the Chimchar line would have really shined. Candace and her Ice-type Pokemon aren't typically difficult. We lead Tajeta. Unfortunately, Aurasphere isn't going to do anything to the Frostlass in the back, so we don't actually have the Choice Specs equipped. This way we can get to the Frostlass and swap up our moves. It's one-shots all the way through, though, until we get to the Frostlass. I do have the Mind Plate of all things equipped to Tajeta, so that we can do a little bit more damage with Psychic. Thought about swapping for just a minute, but we do get that special defense drop as it goes for Double Team, which means another Psychic takes it out, and it was a sweep from Tajeta. And we have more Team Galactic stuff. Yay! We're in the Galactic Hideout, and we have to take on Cyrus for the second time. He leads once again a Sneasel, and Asterope is up front. We outspeed and get a critical hit to one-shot the Sneasel. That was pretty nice. We get hit with a Poison Fang from the Crobat and do a significant amount of damage with Thunder Punch. Full Restore fully heals it, and then we get a Paralyze with Thunder Punch, so we can take it out with taking very minimal damage. Honchkrow doesn't go down to a Thunder Punch, leaving it at low red health. Citrus Berry pulls it out of healing range before we get hit with a nasty feint attack, and then take out the Honchkrow with a Thunder Punch. Now we're at the top of Spear Pillar, and we have a double battle with Algo here. The key to winning this battle is to not take out both Pokemon so that you don't have the Skuntank and the Purugly out on the field, but Alcyone is an absolute unit. I don't care. We're going to take out all the Pokemon all at the same time, so Purugly and Skuntank and Rapidash come out. Again, I have complete disregard for Algo's Pokemon, so we just fire off a Surf, doing significant damage despite the light screen that is up. We take out the Rapidash in a single hit, and Staraptor is a much better Pokemon to have on the field. Close Combat takes out the Purugly. It got a little bit of chip. Surf does take out the Skuntank, albeit a crit, and both Crobats come out. There's nothing that can happen here that's going to make us lose this battle. We have taken 0 damage. But Algo is losing Pokemon left, right, and center. Floatzel comes out and takes out one of the Golbats with an Aqua Jet. We gain a little bit of a level and finally take some damage from a bite before taking out the last Golbat. A final battle with Cyrus here, I'm not actually worried about. We've got a great plan. We get burned from a Will-O-Wisp and knock out the Houndoom with a stab super effective Surf. This baits in Gyarados with Earthquake, so we pivot into Maya on an Earthquake. This is going to bait in an Ice Fang, so we swap into Asterope, who can take this thing out with a quad super effective stab Thunder Punch. Again, great Pokemon. Weavile's out next, so we swap into Tajeta, who takes a fake out on the swap in, then an Ice Punch that doesn't freeze, so we knock it out with a quad super effective Aura Sphere. This is going to bring out the Honchkrow, going for Heat Wave, so I pivot into Alcyone, which may seem a little weird, but after the burn and Heat Wave, we're sitting at 69 HP. Nice. Ice Beam takes out the Honchkrow. That crit did not matter. As the Crobat comes out, I decide to swap into Seleno that hasn't seen a lot of screen time. An Air Slash is fine, and then we get hit with another one that flinches, another one that flinches, another one, then we finally fire off a Psychic that one-shots. Okay, I'll take it. You know, I could have sat here and shiny hunted this Giratina, re-rolling this thing, but it is a box legendary, so we'll take it out. Now, Volkner has coverage into 5 of my 6 Pokemon. I wasn't thinking about that when we were building the team. Sometimes luck isn't in my favor. Seleno is a pretty decent mixed attacker. We are outsped and hit with a Charge Beam, but fire off an Earthquake that one-shots the Jolteon. Luxray we're not going to outspeed. We risk a crit from a Fire Fang, but go unpunished before knocking it into low red health with Earthquake. A Hyper Potion and then Earthquake takes it right back down into low red health, and I need to swap. I debate who I'm going to bring in for just a second, but ultimately decide to bring in Maya on what I thought was a Fire Fang, but is a Crunch. We can then U-turn out, taking Luxray out and swapping into Tajeta, as the Raichu should come out. It is in fact the Raichu, and we can hit this thing with an Aura Sphere that leaves it at a sliver. Focus Blast misses, full restore, and then back-to-back Aura Spheres take out the Raichu. Very nicely done. This just leaves Electivire that has Fire Punch, which is pretty nasty, so I swap into Maya. We get hit with that aforementioned Fire Punch doing decent damage, and then we can U-turn out. I decide to bring Asterope in on what should be a Thunder Punch, and then we can U-turn out. This is where things get a little bit dangerous, as Electivire should be going for Thunder Punch, but I think he reads the swap going for a Fire Punch. That gets the burn, and he healed up a little bit with the Citrus Berry. I need to risk it, so I bring Maya back in on what should be a Fire Punch that we tank very nicely, and then I decide to go for close combat to end the battle, and we get the KO. One more battle stands in our way before taking on the Elite Four, and that is Algo and his team. I'm not really worried about him soaking up the Intimidate with Alcyone and taking out the Staraptor with an Ice Beam. We are significantly over-leveled. Torterra goes down to a single Ice Beam as well. Heracross comes out. This Pokemon is a little bit more concerning with close combat. We swap into Maya on a close combat, and then we can take out the Heracross with a Fly. That might have been overkill, but I wanted to make sure that thing goes down. This, of course, brings out Floatzel, so we are going to swap into Asterope as we have done so many times before. Ice Fang does minimal damage and gets the freeze. Well, that was not in the cards. A couple of crunches take us low, so we need to swap out, ultimately bringing in Tajeta on a crunch, and then firing off an Aura Sphere that takes out the Floatzel. This primes us up as the Rapidash comes out. We need to swap out, so we bring in Atlas that tanks a Fire Blast, and then we can fire off Waterfall that takes out the Rapidash. Very great move for Atlas. Snorlax comes out last, and this is where I meant we were primed up. We swap Tajeta back in on a Body Slam, and then take it out with an Aura Sphere. Bye-bye, Algo. And here is our team leveled up, ready to take on the Elite Four. Maya the Staraptor with Aerial Ace, Roost, Close Combat, and U-Turn. Our starter, Alcyone, the Empoleon with Surf, Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, and Grass Knot. The god himself, Lord Doof, Atlas with Return, Pluck, Superpower, and Waterfall. Seleno the Bronzong with Psychic, Shadow Ball, Earthquake, and Charge Beam. Next up is the longest grind of the run, Tajeta with Aura Sphere, Psychic, Dark Pulse, and Dragon Pulse. And rounding out the team is Asterope the Pachirisu with Thunder Punch, U-Turn, Toxic, and Charm. Now, Aaron and his bug types are typically not difficult because the level disadvantage that he has as we enter the Elite Four. We're going to lead Maya and take out all of his bug types. There's only one Pokemon that's going to pose a threat, and that should be coming out next, the Drapion. It has Ice Fang, so I'm going to swap into Seleno. Surprisingly, it was going for Cross Poison, which doesn't affect us. We then get outsped and hit with a little X-Scissor before taking this thing to low red health with Earthquake. Citrus Berry activates, pulling it out of heal range. X-Scissor, Earthquake, it goes down. The next Pokemon out is going to be the Heracross, so we swap back into Maya, get the Intimidate off, and then of course get hit with a close combat. That would have killed us if it crit. Okay. Aerial Ace takes out the Heracross. Vespiquen comes out next because of Power Gym, but we one-shot it with Aerial Ace. His last Pokemon is Scizor. I decided to U-turn out. We could have used a close combat and potentially taken it out, but I've already risked too much in this battle, so I need to bring somebody in, and Alcyone is the Pokemon. Iron Head does minimal damage, and then a Surf takes Scizor low. X-Scissor is fine, full restore heal, and then back-to-back Surfs take out the Scizor. Bertha and her ground types are going to be very easy for Alcyone. We of course lead, and I do not have the choice specs equipped. We have the Expert Belt. We're going to go with a Grass Knot against the Whiscash and knock it out with a quad super effective move. If Powdon comes out next, this Pokemon should easily go down to a Surf, and it does. The next Pokemon out should be the Gliscor. This one's a little bit scary with Earthquake, taking us all the way to 48 HP. That was a huge risk that we didn't really need this early in the Elite Four. The Golem and the Rhyperior are going to go down to quad super effective Surfs apiece, and Bertha was relatively easy. And speaking of easy, Flint and his fire types are going to be very easy for our Lord and Savior, Atlas. The only Pokemon that's going to outspeed us is the Infernape that has Thunder Punch, but we can tank a non-critical hit, so we're going to do a little bit of risky business here with Atlas as the Infernape comes out. We get hit with Thunder Punch, and we tank it. Now a Waterfall takes it out, and it is one-shot City from this point forward. Rapidash gets outsped in one shot with Waterfall. His next Pokemon out is going to be Magmortar. It is one shot with a Waterfall, and his last Pokemon is Flareon, who goes down to a stab super effective Waterfall, showing what a god Atlas really is. Lucian and his Psychic types have been a problem in the past, but I have a plan. Against the Mr. Mime, we lead Tajeta that has the choice specs and Dark Pulse that we taught from Victory Road. We one-shot the Mr. Mime, and baited out next is going to be Gallade. It's going to be a hard swap into Maya. We get the Intimidate, and we get hit with a Drain Punch that does a decent amount of damage. Aerial Ace one-shots the Gallade. Next out is Alakazam, and we're going to go for U-Turn, which surprisingly one-shots. So we get a free swap into Astarope on what I thought was going to be the Espeon, but it turns out it is the Bronzong. It's going to go for Earthquake, so we're going to U-Turn out into Maya. This is going to be a nice little free swap in, and U-Turn is an amazing move here. We're going to U-turn out again, bringing in Tajeta on what should be a Psychic that we can tank very nicely, which we do, and then we can fire off a Specs boosted Dark Pulse to take out the Bronzong, putting us in perfect position as the Espeon comes out to outspeed in one shot. U-turn, phenomenal move. Now, Cynthia is by far the hardest champion I've ever fought in all of the Pokemon runs that I've done, and the plan is to lead Atlas, hope for a crit, and take out the Spiritomb because we have nothing that can do much to this Pokemon. We unfortunately don't get the flinch, and then we get crit down to 17 HP before we take it out with a Waterfall. Now we're going to start baiting out Pokemon, starting with the Rose Raid. I figured this thing was going for Sludge Bomb, but it opts to go for Energy Ball as we swap in Seleno. Slop in? Seleno, swap. Yeah. Anyway, a couple of energy balls later and a full restore, Rose Raid is sitting at low red health, and we take it out with a Psychic. This is going to bring in Garchomp, and I didn't quite know what to do here. Could I risk it? Should I stay in? Probably not. This thing is not going for Earthquake, so I swap in Alcyone on a Flamethrower. Now it's going to go for Earthquake, so we bring in Maya for a free swap, and we can do a little bit of chip damage at this point with U-turn. I need to get this thing just a little bit low, and then bring in Tajeta, hopefully for free. I didn't know if this thing was going to go for Flamethrower or Dragon Rush, so ultimately I decided to bring Alcyone in on a Dragon Rush. It's going to go for Earthquake, so it's a bring in of Maya once more. Again, I don't know what this guy's going to go for, Dragon Rush or Flamethrower, so we risk it bringing in Tajeta. It goes for Flamethrower. We survive on 44 HP and then can fire off Dragon Pulse to take out the Garchomp. Before the battle, I swapped items around, so we are holding the Expert Belt and swap up to Aura Sphere to one-shot the Lucario. Togekiss comes out. I cannot stay in. This thing has Air Slash and Aura Sphere to take us out, so I need to swap into something, but the team is starting to get beat up. Maya comes in and gets off an Intimidate, and then gets hit with a nasty Air Slash to 24 HP before U-turning out. Well, that didn't go according to plan. Alcyone comes in on an Aura Sphere that ultimately knocks it out, and that is the first Pokemon loss, but a free swap into Astarope. Astarope's going to clean up here, tanking an Aura Sphere, and after a full restore, a couple of Thunder Punches is going to take out this naughty little Togekiss, leaving only the Melodic. This is a pretty good matchup as we have the type advantage, but this still is a nasty Pokemon. A Surf takes us to 16 HP, and we can fire off one more Thunder Punch, and this Pokemon, Pachirisu, has been so amazing in this entire run. MVP for sure. As with any run, this run was 10 tons of fun. It was just very, very grindy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm a little burned out here. And of course, this run is taking a lot longer to get out. We had some technical difficulties this morning. I hope we got everything sorted out, and I hope the audio and everything came across very well. We did get to see some obscure roles of different Pokemon and how Gen 4 deals with shinies. It was neat playing with these Pokemon, so again, I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed it. If you did, you know the routine. Leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing. I need to get this video edited and hopefully out to you guys, though it's going to be a little late. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.